This is the Marketing Agency Power Hour, and I'm your host, Cal Wilder. Each week, we'll power through discussions on business challenges, success stories, and game-changing strategies. This show is sponsored by SmartBooks, provider of bookkeeping and accounting for marketing agencies. Let's get started. So I'm really excited to be speaking to today's guest. She's a serial entrepreneur, a creative innovator, a skilled marketer, and a team leader. She specializes in personalized branding for influencers and public figures across social media, PR, and content creation. She's an expert at driving engagement with achievable strategies and campaigns. She's the co-founder of The Creative Agency. Taylor Adams, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you on the show here. So I'll ask you the same initial question I ask everybody. What is the single most powerful strategy for success in your marketing agency these days?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a few, but I think some of the big ones are really following where the business takes you. When we first started this business, we thought it was going in a completely different direction. And we originally went into it thinking we were going to do social media management. That was the plan. And when we started to try and implement those services, it was like we were forcing it. It wasn't happening naturally. But then we had this influencer side of the business that was just like flowing to us. And so we were kind of like, maybe we should, instead of forcing something, we should actually follow what the business is telling us to do. And so since then, that has really been our philosophy in our business, is really to go where the business is telling us to go. And by doing that, we are taking into consideration what our clients are telling us. So anytime we're having prospect calls with potential clients, we're listening to them and hearing what services they actually need, instead of trying to fit them into a box of something that we think works. Because realistically, that's not going to sell if I try to sell you something that you don't need. So I would say that is definitely one of our big ones right now.
And so what mechanisms did you have in place to kind of collect and gather and listen to that information?
Yeah. It was really just a lot of one-on-one conversations with clients. So we were, for the social media side of the business, we were going to a million networking events. We were meeting everybody we possibly could meet, seeing who needed help, seeing how we could help them. And it was honestly like kind of pulling teeth. Like it was just not working. And I think part of that was we just weren't as passionate about that part of the business. And so it wasn't working. So instead, by having these one-on-one phone calls with influencers, we're able to have conversations about their pain points, and really see, where are they struggling right now? Where do they need support? And so what led us to having those conversations, so I'm a content creator. I work as an influencer, and I started doing it before the agency, which kind of was the trigger point for the agency. And I took what I knew and what I had learned from being managed by other agencies and have applied it to this business. And so because of my experience in knowing that I'm trying to serve the me's out there, the other me's who are struggling as a single influencer, doing this as a team of one. So having those conversations on a regular basis as the environment is constantly changing is really powerful.
So what's different about serving the influencer client versus traditional B2B clients, call it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, and it's something I think about a lot, honestly. And I think it's because influencers are kind of an interesting intersection between a business customer and a consumer. Because, they are a business, they are a brand in a way, right? They are their own brand. However, they are also a little bit of a consumer, like either they're new to the business. And so for them, they are approaching us as, we're the business, they are the individual. And so really trying to understand how to serve them in kind of a two-piece way, like serve them as a business and help their business grow, but also supporting them on more of a personal level. We do a lot of coaching with our clients, and just taking what we hear from these conversations we're having with prospects. my experience working as a creator, and applying that to this more personal aspect of the relationship with our creators.
And so, how do you become a creator or an influencer? I know I'm like the anti-influencer. I don't know how this works, but really, how do you go about like becoming a famous influencer?
Oh my gosh. You know what? It's so funny. After all of the phone calls that I've had with creators, I find that my story of becoming a creator is really not that unique. Um, because a lot of creators end up doing this by accident. And some people grow super, super fast, and some people, it's a little bit more steady, and it really depends. So for me, um, when the pandemic happened, I was looking for a creative outlet, and I took like a $36 course on how to work with brands as an influencer. I just thought it'd be interesting. And I was looking for something that would help me kind of like tickle that itch of creativity. And once I took that course, it like pulled back the curtain for me of, oh wow, like this is how influencers work with brands. This is so cool. Like I would have never known this. This was back in 2019. And from a lot of a lot of the creators I've spoken with, very similar. They were looking for a creative outlet. The pandemic happened and they took a transition in their career. They got laid off. They wanted to try something new, or they just had a topic that they really wanted to talk about. And so the biggest thing that differentiates a creator from becoming it's a hobby to becoming an influencer as it's your job or your part-time job, or you're actually making legitimate money doing it, is really your ability to, one, take it seriously. This is a job. It is a lot of work, and it's a lot of fun, but it's a time commitment, and you have to know that going into it. And you also have to be able to work professionally with brands. You're signing, substantial contracts. There's a lot of times substantial money attached to it. And so to be able to become a creator and work with brands, you need to make yourself brand ready. And that basically means presenting yourself like a creator. Like when somebody lands on your page, they need to know that this is a creator page and not just like a personal page where you like post about your family. So it's a little bit nuanced, but that kind of the flow. And I feel like a lot of people do it by accident.
How do the economics work for creators and influencers? Like, how do they get paid? What do you do to support them and help them drive revenue?
So it's a really interesting industry because relatively it's still pretty new. And so there is very little standardization in the industry when it comes to earnings. And so brands are kind of all over the place as far as what they are willing to pay if they have a budget for influencer marketing. That has become a more substantial part of brands' budgets. They're realizing, most people don't have cable these days. I have just streaming services personally, and my daughter just watches YouTube, and that's kind of the extent of what we watch. And so that's where their customers are. If they are trying to reach someone in, those specific demographics, they're going to be on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're on YouTube. They're really not watching commercials on TV. And relatively, influencers are cheaper than doing a standard commercial. Commercials are very expensive. You have to pay the production crew. There's hair and makeup, there's actors, there's all of the things that go into it. But with a creator, they're doing everything. You're hiring them to be the production, be the hair and makeup, be the actor, to edit the content, grow the social media, which happened before you even were there. So it's a very interesting industry. So as far as how they get paid, there's a few different ways. So there is commission-based engagements. And so some brands will do this based off of, if you sell a certain amount of product, then you get a percentage of the product sales. So that's the commission-based option. That is not going to work for every creator. Some creators, their platform is not primed for that. There are certain creators, you go to their channel and you're like, oh yeah, I go here because I'm looking for to buy stuff. If there's creators that I follow for clothing, for fashion. And so when I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about Thanksgiving outfits, I'm going to go to their channel because I know they're going to recommend something that I could buy. Not every channel is like that. Some channels are more educational. Some are just more for entertainment. And so there's not always every creator is a converting creator. A lot of creators are brand awareness creators. So you think about it like a commercial as opposed to an actual active sale. So there's the commission, which is more like active sales. And then there is flat fee. So flat fee is where you are paying the creator to create the content, push it out on social, engage with it for a certain amount of time, and you're paying them for different pieces of the production process. So you're paying them for whatever it is. So say it's a reel and a story set. You might also be paying them for usage. So for how long you get to use it, the piece of content that they create, the brand, and where the brand gets to put it. So sometimes the brands will ask for usage on their own websites to use over a certain amount of time, so that they can continue to leverage this. And there's a variety of other ways, but those are some of the two main ways that creators make money through as an influencer.
So this seems like you mentioned a relatively new development. And how are traditional agencies dealing with it? And do you tend to partner with them because you're an expert in this new emerging marketplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say it's a mix. I think there are still some more like traditional agencies that are a little hesitant to kind of jump into the influencer marketing industry. And like I totally get it. It's completely different world. It's wild. Like I have, things are burning down in my email right now. Brands are freaking out because they're trying to like send product and everything before holiday. And it's a crazy world. It's very fast moving. And so typically what I'm seeing is that more traditional companies are sticking with these more traditional, quote unquote, like old school marketing agencies that are still doing more of like the traditional advertising. Brands, newer brands, who are trying to get into working with influencers, and brands who are trying to be kind of up on the most recent thing are definitely more interested in working with, companies like us. So it really is going to vary brand by brand. And I've seen a couple more like traditional brands start to dip their toe in the last like few months into influencer marketing. And it's definitely a learning curve. Like there's a big learning curve. It's very different. Contracts are different. The timelines are different. So it's interesting to watch this evolution.
And so you mentioned you kind of pivoted into focusing on influencers and creators. So what did you start out to do when you launched your firm, and how long did it take you to make that pivot?
Yeah. So I feel like I got to take you back to the beginning a little bit to give you some context. So like I said, I started working as a creator in 2019 by accident. During the pandemic, I was 4 months pregnant with my daughter and I was trying to figure out, what the heck am I going to do now? And I started out in the mom and lifestyle space because that's where I was. And then I moved into the finance space. And then I got really sick and tired of talking about money all the time. And so I moved into the home and DIY space, which is where I currently am now when I have time to make content. And during that time, I was managed by multiple agencies. And for various reasons, they just, were not a good fit for me. And so I went back to self-managing. And then my best friend, who's now my business partner, Megan, she had a transition in her career. And I was like, hey, I'm drowning in emails. I'm drowning in brand deals. Can you please come and help me for a little bit? And so what we thought was going to be, 2 weeks turned into where we are now. And so once we started getting going, things started going really well. And other creators in my circle heard what we were doing and wanted to come on. And because we had never done this before, we were kind of like, okay, how can we make money doing this? Like, what does this business even look like? And so for us, and I'm not even entirely sure why, we were just like, social media management, like that is what it needs to be. Like these influencers want to work with us, so it must be social media management. And so we really started approaching businesses, which really, looking back on it, didn't make much sense based on what we were already doing and being successful at. But we were like, all right, we're going to find businesses to run their social media platforms and help support them. We were like, that's where it is. And at this point, this was in, let's see, 2024. And we were like, all right, I think we have to follow business. We're going to transition to influencers. Yeah, I remember having this conversation with Megan, and we were like, "Is this the right move? Like, is this what we should be doing?" And holy moly, like, thank goodness we did because it made so much more sense. It has been so much more like fulfilling for us and our ability to support these creators. And so when we first transitioned to just influencers, we had a very small roster. We were really trying to hone our craft and um, learn the business alongside them. Like I knew the business as a creator, but managing other influencers was a learning curve and figuring out what that was going to look like. And so, like in full transparency, it wasn't until maybe 6 months ago that we were like, you know what, we need to make a move. Megan was about to go on maternity leave, and we were like, we need to either keep the roster where it is. We need to, stick with what we got, close the books, be done for a little bit. These are just our people and we're good. Or we need to take this moment to grow. And we decided to take that moment to grow. And since then, so that was, July, perhaps, now we have two W-2 employees, in addition to myself and Megan. We have 7 recruiters, a business development person, and 36 creators. So things moved extremely rapidly, and they continue to move rapidly. And I really attribute that to us just going where the business has taken us.
So if you think about your dreams for the business for the next few
Mm.
years, what does that look like? How do you measure success for your own firm?
Oh man, such a great question. I think for me, one is internally, I want to have a really great work environment. I've joke with my team and my recruiters, you know, this is marketing. We are not saving lives here. We are not doctors. Like this is it. We are running ads. So we need to like when we get really stressed, because stressful timelines come up, things get crazy. We need to take a step back and we need to be like, okay, at the end of the day, this is just marketing. Like we need to put everything in perspective. And so I think that is really important for creating the culture that we have in our business is I want to keep us centered there. And I know that starts from, the head down. So I want to make sure that we continue that throughout the business is creating a really great culture of people who are happy to work for us. And then on the flip side with our clients, I measure success with our clients, honestly, not even fully with their revenue and their earnings. I want our clients to be so happy that they're recommending us to everybody that will listen. So I pride myself on us being extremely communicative, overly communicative with our clients in a way where they're probably like, okay, Taylor, like, can you please stop sending me Slack messages? I've had enough from you today. But I want them to be up on everything. And so then what that looks like as we grow is I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose the culture internally. I don't want to lose the client satisfaction as we continue to grow. And so that is why as we grow, I am adding trainings for our existing creators. I want to add value to what they're already getting from us. And then I'm also having constant check-ins with our team to be like, okay, where are we as far as workload? Do we feel good? Do we feel stretched? Do we need to hire more? Because, if my talent managers aren't happy, then my clients aren't going to be happy. And so, if our new hire that we just brought on Monday, if she tells me, hey, Taylor, like this is my top, like I can't do more than, 10 creators or whatever. Okay, let's hire someone else. Let's hire another person so that we can take that off your plate. And so I really want to scale with all of that in mind. So that we just, we continue to support the people we have.
So you mentioned having several recruiters. I assume they're recruiting new creators and influencers.
Correct. Yes.
So what makes a good creator for you as a client?
Yeah. Great question. So for us, we really don't focus on follower count because I find that follower count is not a great indicator of how you're going to perform as a creator. The better indicators are engagement. Do you have an engaged community? Um, are you presenting yourself as a professional creator? Someone lands on your page, they know you are a creator. You are showcasing brands. You're doing all the things to create brand attraction. You're putting yourself out there. You are being the face of the brand. And then someone who's willing to treat this like a business and work hard. Um, it can seem really simple. Sometimes brands will say to us like, "Oh, we just need a 10-second video, real quick, real 10-second video." And I'm like, okay, I understand from your perspective, this is a 10-second video. However, this is going to take probably 2 to 4 hours just to produce. Maybe it could be more. It depends on what the content is. Because these creators are having to come up with the concepts themselves, send it for draft review. They're having to create the content, film all of it, which sometimes takes a lot of time. They have to do their hair and makeup because they need to look a certain way or else the brand's not going to be happy. They need to present the product, and then they need to do all of the editing. And that doesn't count all of the time that goes in ahead to prime their audience to get ready for this content. So we need someone who takes that whole process seriously. You're not just going to receive a product and all of a sudden you'll be paid. It takes time, and there is a strategy to content creation. So we need creators as clients to understand that, one, they are the face of their brand. And if I can email 10,000 brands, but if the brand doesn't want to work with this creator, there's really nothing I can do about it because they are the creator. They are the face of their brand, and I need them to be that person. It doesn't matter who Angelina Jolie's PR person is, who's scheduling the talent stuff. I mean, yes, I care about her. Whoever that person is, you're doing a great job. But no one else knows who that is, but they know who Angelina Jolie is. And that's what really matters. So we need someone who understands that and is willing to be flexible and strategize with us about how to play this chess game of being an influencer and working with brands.
And so what are some of the biggest challenges you face?
Yeah, as a business with creators, and I mean, I feel like I could talk forever on it, though. Which would you prefer I kind of land on?
Maybe we'll start with the business. What are some of the challenges for your business these days?
So I think the biggest challenge right now is just my business partner is on maternity leave. So I am fortunate to have an extremely amazing team of people around me. But it's tough. It's tough when your core people are out, and one of our other core members is about to go on maternity leave in January. So I'm trying very hard to ramp us up to be able to support all of the different areas of this business and keep everybody happy, so that we can keep our business to where I want it to be. I don't want anything to fall through the cracks because there is an adjustment in staffing. So I would say that is honestly the biggest challenge right now, situationally, that we are working through, and it's fine. Just drinking a lot of coffee to keep up.
Well, I guess by nature, that's a temporary challenge.
Yes, exactly.
So I do need to ask you a couple obligatory questions around finance and accounting and bookkeeping, since that's my day job. So
Of course.
how do you go about managing the books for your agency? Who do you have do the work, and what kind of reports or metrics do you like to get to stay, so you feel like you stay on top of things?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And this is definitely the part of my business that I want to be better at, that I want to stay on top of more. And so I'm trying to figure out my best way to do it. So what I am doing right now is basically every month I am tracking our earnings, expenses, etc. In a P&L. So I just have a P&L that's set up on Excel, and I go in and I manually add that in every single month. And the P&L really helps me stay on track. And I add in there kind of anticipated expenses, anticipated revenue versus actual, so that I can kind of track on where I think we might land, where we actually are landing. And so that is kind of like my main thing that I am looking at constantly is my P&L. Every single month, multiple times a month, I'm kind of tracking in there. I was going to use, QuickBooks or some other system, but in full transparency, I just didn't have the time to set that up. but I had time to set up an Excel document. And so I think I don't want to speak for other small businesses out there, but I feel like this is a very common thing when it comes to bookkeeping and reporting and finances is, it can be challenging when you're a small team of people and you're trying to make sure that your finances are staying on track. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll throw it in Excel. I have some learnings from my previous businesses where I would wait until the end of the year to complete a P&L and I'd be pulling my hair out. And so I'm not doing that here. But then on the flip side, we're going to bring on a CPA. I really want to bring on a bookkeeper because that is just so essential to our business. Taxes for me are very overwhelming. We use Gusto as our system for our employees, and thankfully that has been very helpful with our different the different taxing and all of that goes on. That is extremely complicated. We just got signed up to offer our employees healthcare, and so that is another element of this whole financial piece that we're trying to work through. So that's kind of how we're managing it right now.
Right? Yeah, I mean, at some point you do need to get into QuickBooks, bite the bullet there. Excel can take you to a certain point.
Absolutely.
QuickBooks is the longer term. So
it really is. Yep. It is the plan. Once my ops manager hires her intern, I'm having her dive into QuickBooks.
yeah. At least you're on Gusto for payroll. That's key. But like you said, payroll can be very complicated with all different tax filings, and you definitely don't want to be trying to do that yourself internally.
No, absolutely not. I've tried to do tax stuff for previous businesses in the past, and oh man, it is so complex. And like I said, I want to pull my hair out. So thankfully, Gusto has been great in helping me do a lot of the things that I was not clear on how to do.
So I'm curious, you've got a lot going on, and you seem very engaged and excited, but what specifically excites you about the future for your firm or your industry?
Oh my gosh, I feel like so many things. So I love the creative space, first of all. It is so fun. I get to talk to so many interesting people, which just keeps the day very fun for me. I'm definitely an extrovert. So anytime a recruiter can't take a discovery call, they're like, can someone jump on the call? I'm like, oh, I'm the first to volunteer. I'm like, me. I want to be on the prospect call. Like, I want to talk to this really cool person who's doing this super cool stuff. So I think the thing that I'm most excited about is trying to figure out how to serve more people where they are. Because there's no one size fits model for creators. To answer their questions, get their needs met. And so I'm constantly trying to evolve the services that we're offering to meet them where they are. So right now I'm working on, I originally created it as a training for our tier 1 creators to just basically have a little module every month of the things that we're always talking about, but just so that they can have it, they can refer back to it. It talks about brand attraction. It has homework and checklists for them. Some of our creators, they're so funny because I'm like, all right, you have homework every month. You have homework, and I when I first introduced the idea of homework with our creators, I thought they were going to be like, absolutely not. Why am I going to do homework? But a lot of them, I just had an onboarding with someone yesterday where I gave him his homework, and he was like, that's why I joined. And I was like, great. I'm so glad to hear that. So originally I was putting together these little modules, these training modules for our tier 1 creators to provide them additional support every month. And while I was doing that, I realized oh wow, this could be valuable to other people who are not part of our agency. So I'm working on figuring out how to provide these trainings to other creators just outside. And I see the creator world. It's a really great place for so many people who are interested in having a creative outlet. As a mom, as a woman who has lots of friends who are mothers and, their kids are, finally starting to get into elementary school, they're trying to re-enter the workforce. That is a very big space for creators. Because that is a big audience too out there, watching these other moms and women live their lives, or people who have had transitions in their career. So I think being able to serve creators who are in various stages of life and help them to earn money to provide for their family, I think is really, really powerful. I think the other side of what I'm really excited about, and I've been seeing this more and more with the recruiters that we're bringing on, I intentionally made the recruiting role very flexible. There's no time commitment. It's what you make of it. So we get a lot of people who are, they might already have a full-time job, or maybe they have a part-time job, or they're a stay-at-home mom, or they're re-entering the workforce. Whatever it might be, it's flexible enough to meet them where they are and help them earn money by just, being uh, being who they are and putting themselves out there and approaching these creators that they're probably scrolling past on Instagram anyway. Might as well reach out and get paid. So I think being able to serve on the creator side and on the hiring side, people at various stages of life who are looking to make a change, I think is really powerful.
Seems like you've really honed in and developed an offering very specific to this creator space. I'm curious, do you tend to partner with other agencies who need help in this area? Because it seems like unless you've actually worked in this area, you might not really know what you're doing.
For sure. Yeah, definitely a learning curve. So on the brand side, so agencies that work with brands, we do partner with them fairly often, so we can kind of go back and forth and be like, "Oh, this is our like updated roster. Is anybody a good fit for your brands and their campaigns, and vice versa?" And so that is a very open and great relationship that we have with numerous different agencies. On the other talent agency side, other people who are in the same space or marketing agencies, we don't. And I am a big believer in collaboration over competition. I would love to work more closely with other talent agencies, marketing agencies. I was just having a conversation with my husband where we were like brainstorming on some something that was going on with clients and with brands and, just logistics of the business. And he said to me, he was like, like it's good that you can bounce these ideas off of me. And I have some, he has some background in business. And so we can kind of chat about things, but it's not 100% relevant to what's happening, right? Like, and he was like, there have to be people out there who have dealt with this issue before, Taylor. Like, how can we connect you with those people? And I would love to be part of a community where I can, reach out to my friend at another talent agency and be like, "Hey, have you dealt with this before? Like, how did you handle it?" Because I think that when one of us is successful, we're all successful. There's plenty of fish in the sea. Like, I am definitely, all about the abundance mindset. Like, there's so many influencers, we could not possibly serve all of them. So, I'm not worried about, everybody stealing everybody's creators. Like, that's just not how it works. I want to talk to you about our business and figure out how we can all be successful so that we can uplift these creators and our own businesses.
Well, that might be the second generation of the marketing agency power hour, expanding into peer groups. We'll see.
I would love that. I volunteer as tribute. Like, I'm there.
So, if we go back to the days of little Taylor, did you think you'd be owning and running your own business one day?
So, well, yes and no. I think so. When I was young, I've always been pretty entrepreneurial. I started a babysitting business. I put like flyers up all over town. I always was brainstorming about different things I wanted to do. I wanted to start a daycare. I was like 7. Like, that is absolutely not a thing that you can do at 7. Um, and I have always done that. And then when I went to college, my degree is in business entrepreneurship because I really wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. Because that could be anything, right? And I tried a variety of different businesses, and a lot of them I wasn't passionate about. And so finding something that I'm extremely passionate about is really exciting. But thinking about little Taylor and what she would think of what I'm doing now, I think she'd be super excited. I have always been very creative. I originally went to school for art and architecture, and I see that in my daughter. My daughter's 5, and she's super artistic. And I think being able to have a career that is creative, is really cool and very unexpected. I started when I graduated college, I was working in finance, and that was not exciting for me. Some people find finance very exciting. It was not exciting for me because I am just very creative. But I also have this, more like business side of me where I'm just like always thinking about growth, always thinking about getting bigger. So I think she'd be really excited. She'd be like, Be like, I'm the CEO of a company. And she'd be like, wow, how did that happen? And I'll be like, girl, I don't know.
What were the key milestones along the way?
Yeah. So I think first well, the first key milestone was Megan, transitioning from self-managing to bringing Megan on. And then that was kind of the like, oh, wow, okay, this is like a real business. We're doing this. So that was maybe the first big milestone that kind of changed the game for everything. Um, and then I think the next big milestone, I think it was when we decided to like switch up our business strategy from social media management to influencers, and then it was um, moving from okay, we had a small roster. What are we doing? To we're going for it. We're gonna do this thing. That was a big turning point in July. And then in September, we hired our first employees. So that is the most recent big milestone. And goodness, I feel like the milestones keep getting like closer and closer together. And it's like, look, okay, it's a lot, but it's really exciting.
So if you could go back a few years and give yourself some advice with the benefit of hindsight, what would you tell yourself?
Holy moly, yeah. So if I could go back a few years, I would say like do this way sooner. And that's always the way, right? Like, you never feel like you're ready to do something, but you have to do things before you're ready. And I already had this knowledge. I was already working as a creator. I was working with brands. I, knew how to review, redline, negotiate contracts, like, all of that stuff. Yeah, like start sooner than you think. Just if you have an idea, just do it. Like, I mean, I don't really believe there's like a thing as like failure. I think if you quote unquote fail, it's just an opportunity to do something else. And don't throw it out the window. Don't throw, I didn't throw my agency out the window because social media management wasn't working. I just pivoted. And that's okay. Like that's just learning and growing and evolving.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I started my first company with a couple business partners when I was 24 years old.
Mhm. Wow.
Like when you do it when like you're in your 20s, if it fails, you're still young enough you can recover and figure out something else to earn a living. It gets harder though. We have family, kids, inertia. It gets harder the older you get. So I like your advice. Start early.
Yep. Absolutely. I used to say this thing where it was like the longer you wait to get started, the longer you wait to see results. So like stop waiting. Like do it now.
So Taylor, what do you like to do outside of work when you're not working?
Yeah. So I have a 5-year-old daughter. She is the most fun. We have so much fun together. So her, me, and my husband, we love to explore like local finds. We live in a really beautiful area of Massachusetts. And so it's a lot of fun to explore new restaurants and new shops that are opening. So I love to do that and go into like our local downtown has so many events. It's like, oh, I feel so lucky to live where we are. And then I'm a huge foodie and I love to eat. I love really good food and I am a voracious reader. I think I'm at like 75 books this year. And November actually was a really slow month for me. I think I'm only going to do 1 or 2 books this month. And that's really small for me. And I'm a little disappointed.
What kind of books do you like to read?
I'm a very millennial woman in that I really love the romantasy genre. So I'm really into the fantasy romance, lots of fairies. It's great escapism. My brain is full of business ideas constantly, so I have to distract myself with something that is just completely ridiculous. And it's great.
And you mentioned earlier when we were chatting, you're big into home improvement and DIY projects, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's so funny that didn't even pop into my head. But yes, so I am currently, much to my husband's chagrin, just redoing our whole house. So 2 year and a half ago, I got renovated a Vermont farmhouse, which was really fun. And I am working my way through our house right now, going for some modern vintage vibes, which is really exciting. I have a lot of unfinished projects. I have actually a series on my channel that I'm running right now. And it's just called the Unfinished series. And me finishing all of the unfinished projects that I have about like 85 to 90% done.
So did you grow up around construction and contracting, or how did you get into that?
Yeah, so my dad was always big into like redoing all his like our house. He did flip a house at one point. Um and so I think that was like the initial piece of it. And then I always was interested in like home design and architecture. So I originally went to school for architecture. And so I think a lot of that has just like, kind of come into my life. I think it helps me with the creative aspect that I really love. I love to be in a very like aesthetic environment. And so I think being able to be creative, use my hands and see something be like done, like something is like, wow, like I made that happen in my house. I think that is kind of some of the things that make me love doing it.
Yeah, I find it very fulfilling. Just the fact you're taking on a project and doing it and seeing it through to completion with your own hands. That's pretty cool sometimes.
It is. It is. It feels really good. Very rewarding.
I really appreciate the time and everything you've shared. If folks want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you, Taylor?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can find the creative agency on Instagram, TikTok, on LinkedIn. And our handle is the creative agency HQ. So you can feel free to ping us over there if you want to follow my unfinished antics on social media. I'm just Taylor Coleman Adams on all of the platforms. And you can check out our website, thecreativeagencyboston.com. Yeah, definitely reach out. Would love to hear from you, especially if you're another agency or a marketing agency, would love to connect.
All right, listeners, you heard it. She wants to connect with you. So reach out, make the connection, see if you can help each other. And then more broadly, if you've enjoyed this episode, you've enjoyed hearing Taylor's story, please tell your peers about this podcast. Want to get the word out, help out other fellow agency owners. So thank you again, Taylor. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
This has been another exciting episode of the Marketing Agency Power Hour. We'll see you all next time. Another episode in the books. Thank you so much for tuning in. For show notes and more, please visit marketingagencypowerhour.com. This show is sponsored by SmartBooks, providing marketing agencies with bookkeeping, accounting, and finance support. With SmartBooks, you gain the clarity and confidence to make your agency a success. Until next time,